Hey, what's up? I'm back after a week break. I guess it feels like a lot longer because I didn't post anything else, but I have been hard at work on the screenplay, which I finished the first season of the series, and that's pretty much all that I need to do to start sending it out and trying to get it sold. I actually did quite a bit more than people usually do. Usually people just do the pilot and then map it out from there. And I think that's why a lot of TV series ends up like kind of getting worse as they go on because you know, one thing that I realized is there's only so much you can like plan out with that, and I already have a book that has all of the information in it that I'm turning in to the series. So you would think that it would be really easy, but it's actually quite hard because when you add all this dialogue and you build the world out, like um there are other paths that open up that you don't even see. So you can't really predict you can predict the trajectory of the story. But it's very hard to predict things where things go in the short term or how it's going to play out. And I think when people are dealing with fictional stuff, it's you know I've noticed many TV series that I watch after like the third or fourth season, it's done, and usually not worth watching anymore. This one will be 3 seasons, I think. That's how I have it set up, and it ends with the first book. So there's another whole book that hasn't been released yet. Um, hey, good to see you, Andrea. Thank you for that. And then yeah, so the second book is like the comebacks I tried to do with Good Vibes promo and the whole cancer situation and my time in activism. So I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna kind of like uh I'll release the book sometime later this year, but because it's finished, I just got to figure out the cover, and I'm not totally sold on the title either. The what is it? Echo Chambers and Engagement Farmers: Diaries of a Digital Propagandist. I don't think people get the last part because everybody thinks that propaganda is just a negative thing. They don't realize that it's like a neutral term that is just like we perceive as negative because a lot of people have done negative propaganda and that's like the most of it, but it's really just a description of trying to influence people, you know what I mean? And that's what I was trying to do for many years. But yeah, that book, I'm kind of I feel like if I could get some traction with this series, then the next book will get a lot more attention. So that's why I'm trying to like plan things out a little bit better. But I entered Sundance Film Festival with the pilot. I didn't know that you could submit written stuff to them, but you could do that. And then Slam Dance was the other one I submitted to. So I'll probably do some contests here and there to try to see if I can get management a little bit easier. Otherwise, I'll just be cold emailing people and stuff. But yeah, so that has been what my past couple weeks have been consisting of, has just been working on that constantly. I was in the zone with it, so I was like, I'm just going to keep on going. And I'm really happy with where the first season's at. And it really pushed the limits of what I could do. It was a big challenge as a writer, and it was kind of fun to have a new challenge like that. So I'm hoping it'll get picked up. I mean, with how I'm determined to make this shit happen because I think it's a good story on many levels, and you know, I also think that there's nobody who can really tell it this way because of the situations that I found myself in from a lot of newsworthy situations like the island party, God's basement, the black hole. Um, and also like I'm willing to talk about the illegal shit that I did because it's been a long time ago. And now it's like completely normal to host EDM events. Back then it was like you were a criminal. A lot of people don't remember that the Rave Act was like mid 2000s. Joe Biden's Rave Act. And that was like, it set up this law that if you were throwing an EDM party, you were basically like running a crack house. That was the same laws would be applied to you. And if there were like glow sticks and stuff, that would be used as evidence of paraphernalia. And we used to have to like hide the glow sticks and stuff. It's crazy. That all changed like within a couple of years. Largely, I think, due to like civil disobedience and people just going ahead with it. But I think it's a super interesting story, especially how the story of how you have like an underground scene that's trying to escape from the problems of mainstream culture, and like mainstream culture just like comes in with all the people. That's like the real essence of the story. The clubs and all that are just the backdrops for it. And yeah, festival culture has really taken over, which is like kind of a bummer for me because I don't like camping out. I don't like the food situation at festivals. I'd rather not be in the same place all weekend. Like, I like the idea of just going somewhere for the night and then getting home. As long as the place is open all night until the morning, then it's fine. But especially now that I'm old, I need I need to like sleep in a bed and stuff. And yeah, all those festivals are like $300 to $500. It's insane. I saw this wild video this week with the COO, so the Chief Operational Officer, right, of Axon, the company that's the main competitor. Hey, Bubbles. Okay. No, you're not going to get another one. You can go upstairs. What you looking at me like that for? Hold on. Okay, I was going to give you another one. You want another one? There you go. Sorry about that. She was looking at me all sad. I saw this crazy video, and I don't even know how I came across this. I think it was just in my algorithm. The COO of Axon. And let me present the screen. And she's talking about how they are expanding beyond police and how she looks really unhinged, doesn't she? And how they want to put body cameras on retail workers. Now, I definitely think a lot of this is because they just want to get into a new market and get more money. But if the retailers do accept this, it's because they're trying to watch their employees. But listen to how this is described. It's completely insane.
To get into the car chase. We're partnering with Skydio to provide that to police departments. That's really what they are doing. And they're probably making, in our opinion, the very best US made drone out there on the market.
Now, there are applications to this other than in policing. And it's a good segue to talk about enterprise.
Yes.
Skydio, 3D mapping of factories, for example. And look, I'm in New York. We're in New York now. We live in New York. I feel like every pharmacy I walk into, everything's behind perspex glass in protective cases. And retail is an area of focus, I think, for your enterprise business. Talk to us about how your product and software suites are being applied outside law enforcement.
Yeah. So just like we've been developing new products for our existing law enforcement customers, we've realized that those products have broad applicability outside of law enforcement. Corrections has been a big new market for us, federal, we're going international.
Notice how she's easing into the topic. And she's like, oh yeah, correctionals officers, because they're like kind of like cops. That is not something that people would really argue about in many cases. And then she goes to federal workers, and then she brings the retail thing in, even though that was the real question. And you could tell that this is all like a setup interview by the way that they're answering.
And then enterprise is an incredible opportunity for us. Retail is one that we talk about front and center, to your point. Retail associates want to feel safer in their stores. They want to have better experiences with customers. Sometimes just wearing a camera on a retail associate in trials we've done has been proven to de-escalate situations. And so we're having a lot of conversations with retailers about what does it mean to put a camera on some of your associates.
Anybody that I've talked to in retail about this is like, hell no.
And I would say similar to our conversation on privacy, there were a lot of questions of how well would this be accepted. But in a world where everyone has a phone and they will whip their phone out and video something that's happening, any scene they see, people have gotten really comfortable with and accepting of, having a video interaction of what is going on. And so
let's check something out real quick while we're on the topic of people being comfortable with having a video interaction of what's going on. I saw this weird ass video of these guys, these masked guys going into the DMV and just recording people.
Because I'm like, this is weird. Yeah, hi. Because y'all come in here with no explanation, with cameras. This is weird.
Yeah, like that shit is weird. What's up with that?
Weird.
And for some reason, my mind instantly went to this when she's like, people are very comfortable nowadays with having cameras put in their faces. And it's like, no, actually, there's been kind of a massive resistance to that in some circumstances. Like every time now that you see, let me see if he's what he's saying here. Anytime that you see somebody like shaming a person on the internet with some photo now, like they randomly took of them in public, most of the comments are like, what is wrong with you? Stop taking photos of random people in public.
Not understand that. I don't know what y'all got going on. Security ain't doing shit. And so am I, but I don't know. Y'all coming here with this weird shit. What if y'all got a gang of people outside ready to shoot somebody up? I have a child here. That's why I'm angry.
Yeah, that is kind of creepy. I would be like, are they getting ready to like bomb this place or something?
My child is in the next room, and I'm angry because why is y'all doing this?
Wild.
I'm telling you right now, this is weird. We already dealing with racism. Y'all hanging our black people. I want you to get away. Like, I rebuke y'all. I rebuke y'all. Like, you in DMV disturbing people's peace and stuff. That is weird. Just weird. We just got there's kidnapping of kids, and y'all in here with cameras and being weird.
Are you recording?
Yes, I am.
You're doing the same thing.
I just started because y'all up in here doing weird shit.
Yeah, like why do they need masks? Is very strange.
And I need to make sure, because who knows? Y'all have a van outside ready to snatch up people. Who knows? Who knows? I don't know. So why would you come here with cameras?
Does anybody know what's going on here with the
like that? Why would you
with the masks?
Please, I stay my ass home. I stay my ass home. Who the fuck worrying about all that? You talk about COVID. We talk about right now. We talk about right now. Why is y'all being weird? Can you just go?
Okay, put your camera.
She's telling their asses, dude.
I'm not gonna do it. You're not gonna do it. It's okay.
All right. Well, we're just
I'm gonna
in
walk
your
away.
face off.
I'm gonna walk away because I'm
Walk
fucking
away.
bored. That's what I'm.
Go, dude. Go home. Go talk to Jesus. Why are you in here bothering us? Do you not see what y'all doing?
She said, "Go talk to Jesus."
Because y'all got my spirit.
She followed him outside.
So we just doing the video back and forth. Yup. Yeah. Since they like to egg people on and shit, sitting here trying to wait for a ride, antagonizing me, harassing me. I asked them, please get out of my space. They said, oh, you acting like that in front of your son? Leave, just leave. I'm waiting on the ride.
That is such weird behavior. Like, how are you going to do that with your day? I don't get it.
My ride's not here yet. You don't make sense. You getting up in the morning choosing to come out here harassing people. You're harassing me.
Like, I understand if you want to go into like the CIA building or like the Flock building or like, you know, something like that. But not like some where random people are chilling and you're just like, we're gonna go in there with masks and film people. Let's finish with this Axon thing though. I did want to go to that because of how she was talking about how we're just comfortable with having cameras shoved in our faces.
Instead of customers being nervous about it, to actually put people sort of on their best behavior. And that's allowed the retail associates to be more effective. So I'd say that's a big push into the retail.
Yeah, allows the retail associates to be more effective, means that their bosses can spy on them.
Market for us. And then
and all of that video data gets fed into their system that categorizes everybody and tracks everybody like Flock. And actually, it's becoming apparent that Axon seems to have much more advanced technology than Flock does. And I've mentioned before their acquisition of Carbine last year, which is Epstein's and Ehud Barak's company, which allowed you to or allowed 911 to just hijack your phone and look into it and just look into the camera so they can help people. I'm sure it is helpful in certain circumstances, but you know, that's not what things are used for. You know, we got this guy who was stalking his wife with the Flock system. How many times was it? It was like 700 or something. Where is this guy? 717 times. So that's what this stuff is overwhelmingly being used for. I saw other stories where some guy was buying weed out of state and they tracked him with the Flock cameras for, you know, visiting out of state, and they probably had the cameras pointed at the weed places like they did with jars in that one state. I forget, was it Michigan? That's probably why. It's not about like catching the bad guy. It's about catching the normal people who are doing normal shit.
mentioned Fusus. What Fusus really does is it takes cameras and it puts it all in one place so you can see what's going on. Well, that's really important to police. It's also really important to people doing asset protection in retailers, because they would love to know what's happening in their parking lot or what they need to respond to or what's happening in the corner of their store. So we've been learning a lot alongside our customers and partners, but the more they learn about our technology and what we can provide and how we can stitch some of these sensors together, the more excited they're getting about partnering with us.
And how big is enterprise as a proportion of Axon's overall business today?
It's still small. I mean, I think one of the things that's fun is we get to talk about all these future things. Even AI, when you look at our Q2 amazing revenue results, there's almost nothing from AI in there because it's relatively new. And so we talk about it in our bookings. We talk about having really good bookings from AI. Our largest deal ever as of Q4, we've since surpassed that, but in Q4, our largest deal ever was in the enterprise space. So there's huge future potential as we see bookings and as we have conversations with these customers.
What was their deal in the enterprise space? She didn't mention it. It's interesting that she didn't drop the name. I'm kind of curious if it was who knows, could have been Walmart or something like that. No, Axon private. Let's see. What private corporation did Axon recently do a deal with? I mean, this is a little bit older too. What is it? I'm surprised I didn't see this when it first came out. Yeah, this is almost a year old, and it only has like 3,000 views and 1 comment, and I'm guessing that they've deleted a lot of comments on here. So let's see. What private corporation with Axon? Says Carbine. Echodyne. See, these are all talking about federal. There's 9 acquisitions by Axon. Carbine is definitely the big one. That is not. I don't think that's considered enterprise, though. Maybe because it's not. It's not like technically a federal organization. That's why she said that. No more, bud. You can go upstairs. He's trying to scam me. What's up, bub? All done. No more. Let's see. Yeah, I also wanted to cover this story. Yeah, Carbine is the Israeli one, and Epstein was heavily invested in it too. Alchemy Gaming, yeah, you put out this article, Joshua, about the Tulsa PD and their shooting a couple months ago. Yeah, could have been. And yeah, there's this is kind of just taking another look at the situation, and this is one of many police killings where the victim was in, you know, having a mental crisis, and the cops came there and shot and killed him. And this was, where's the picture of that guy? Yeah, this is a very, very in-depth piece with a look at, you know, what they call suicide by cop, which is just an excuse that they have to shoot people. Let's see. I had it here on the thumbnail. The guy like seems to be smiling over as after he shoots the person. And you know, a lot of these guys love this shit. It's terrible. That is why they get the job. So yeah, Michael was having a mental crisis. His mother called the police and warned them like, "Hey, you know, this is the situation. He wants to harm himself." And they showed up and shot and killed him. And their story doesn't make any sense, as with most of these cases. And this is definitely why. Oh yeah, they do that, don't they? They like bend their badge every time they kill somebody. Some of them like they have tattoos and stuff. There's these gangs the in the police departments where they definitely rank up their killings, and they brag about their killings, and they compete in that regard. Yeah, so there's other videos that have came out. This article is really, really well done. I'm gonna share share it in the chat, or actually I'll share it both in the chat and in the comments later. Let's see. I think I could do it now, yeah. Yeah, just put it in the comments of the... I'll have to... What's that? Oh, I guess a part of the link carried over into another chat because it was too long. That's weird. All right, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I'll grab that link and put it in there. But this is absolutely why people who are skilled in mental health issues should be going on these calls instead of cops with guns only that only know how to hurt people. It is, you know, many of the police killings that happen are situations like this where somebody is, when people are in a certain mental state, they're not going to respond to your commands. And if cops don't get complete obedience, then they're often going to just respond with violence. Whoops. Yeah, here is the link in the comments. I'm fixing it right now. And this is what defund the police means. I was getting into arguments with people about this like over the past week or two because, any politician that ever said something positive about defund the police is now walking it back and pretending that, oh, that was a bad idea. I think there's a lot of pressure from police unions and lobbying organizations and stuff like that, especially. And then there's also just this like propaganda culture where everybody believes the law and order kind of bullshit. And they think that, defunding the police means no more Ice-T catching the bad guys. And really, it just means to not give them as much money as they're getting now, because they're getting billions of dollars for these surveillance systems and tanks. And, there are some police departments where cops are making $1 million a year. Let me see if I can find this. I saw this a couple weeks ago. Yeah. For San Francisco, uniformed police and sheriff's deputies is approaching $900,000 per year. What? $500,000 of it in overtime pay. So defunding this is a bad idea. Defunding this is unpopular. I don't understand. It's because people are so brainwashed that they think that if you take anything away from the police, that there will be more murders. It's insane. Yeah, oh, and they tried to say that the 911 dispatcher didn't say that the man wanted to harm himself, but apparently there was evidence that he did. Yeah, so I highly recommend digging into this article. Very well done on your first Substack piece. I think that yeah, he hit me up about it and was like, I'm concerned about this case, and I don't think that it's getting the attention that it should. And I've been talking to these people. I was like, it sounds like you're doing journalism, you know? You should put that out there. Yeah, definitely. And it was cool to see the Free Thought Project pick it up too. I had a feeling they would, because it was definitely well done and in their same the kind of stuff that they like to cover. Check out these ice gloves. These are, you may have read the stories about the electrocution gloves that they're getting. And I like how the name of the company that is building this is called Compliant Technologies. So look at how crazy this is, though.
Oh! I scream like a little girl and pee myself. Go back with the glove.
And, you know, like, if somebody has a pacemaker, they're done. Although I guess it's the same thing with tasers as well, and, like, they just use them indiscriminately. These seem worse than tasers, though.
Who's this? Put your hand. Oh, thank you. Damn, he turned red. Oh!
And the other thing is the way that you react when you're being shocked like that. You could they could easily be like, oh, he's resisting. And then hit you some more. And yeah, this is another one of those things with the defund the police argument. People want to fund this. The argument is for funding this. Well, what kind of sense does that make? I do think one of the main issues is that people confuse defunding with abolition. And I said online a couple days ago that abolition is a completely different, more awesome thing. Really, like, it's just giving them less money. And how can anybody argue that they don't have enough money, or that they're making an okay amount of money, and that money shouldn't be able to go other places? This is literally why we can't have healthcare and shit, because of the police and the military. That's the reason. It's literally that easy. I mean, also with the whole fact that the, like, billionaires don't pay taxes and shit like that. Like Amazon, Bezos paying like 0 taxes. Elon probably paying 0 taxes. But the main thing is where all this budget goes. And with the military situation, the funny thing about it is that we're not even getting a value. Like, billions and billions of dollars are spent on the military at these, you know, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon, all them. And the weapons that they get have proven to be insufficient against militaries that have significantly lower budgets, because these companies are ripping the government off and charging them obnoxious prices, you know, for all of these weapons. And the politicians don't care because they're getting paid off anyway. Is quite interesting. And yeah, defund the police is literally a moderate position. It is like, and that's why I get frustrated with politics in general, because even the, like, radical socialist candidates they still abandon the most important issues. And like, it's like, yeah, I know that like free busing is important and stuff, but so is like not genociding people and not having the largest prison population on the planet. Like, why aren't we, you know, poverty is obviously a massive problem, that and inequality that we need to fix in this country. But there are human rights violations happening every day at the hands of the police and the military, and they get more money than anything. So we can solve these problems at the same time by doing the same thing, by just taking the money away from one thing and putting it into the other. Like that's it. That's all you got to do. It's that easy. I don't, but we are like one of the most propagandized nations on the planet. Think about like how our media portrays people in North Korea. That's how we are, literally. Not the people like that, you know, tune in and hear me ramble. But you know, the people around us, they have this very mythical view of the police and the military that is just from years of mostly movies and television and school and stuff like that, because we have a very skewed version of history that we're told, and every piece of media portrays us as the good guys, or not us, but you know, the United States military and government that defends the United States establishment. As far as these shock gloves, though, they're already being used in schools on students.
29 local public schools have access to gloves that can be used to shock people. These are the same gloves that ICE is considering purchasing for its agents. I'm your Omaha neighborhood reporter, Jeremy Fredericks, at OPD's Southwest Precinct near 135th and Q. And I've learned that school resource officers have used these gloves in at least 2 incidents. Take a look at this video posted on Compliant Technology's YouTube page. It shows a demonstration of the gloves being used on people.
Give me your hands. Give me your hands.
According to its website, OPD has school resource officers, or SROs, at 34 schools in the Omaha, Westside, Millard, and Elkhorn public school districts. On Friday, a spokesperson for OPD confirms that the gloves have been delivered to SROs at 29 of the 34 schools, with plans to train officers at the other 5 schools.
I'm going to apply the glove. Put your arm out to the side. Last warning.
No.
Omaha police officer Jason Civitano trains the SROs on how to use the glove. During a Friday afternoon press conference, he gave a demonstration on how it works. Civitano tells me that the glove was used by SROs twice, in both cases on students.
The officer was trying to get this individual away from the school to leave.
And he needed to use shock gloves on a child. Like, these
The commands were given. There was
cops are such losers, man.
a refusal. It was a quick touch with the glove, and then the officer was able to secure that individual. The other one, I believe, was in a high school, and again, non-compliance. And so the officer chose in this situation to utilize the glove. No reported injuries.
Yeah.
I asked why these gloves are being used in schools, but not
He's just talking about it's like normal to just do that on a child.
in the general public.
I think because of the low level of force, plain and simple. I don't have taser barbs. I'm not going to spray pepper spray where there's a lot of aftercare. This, as you saw, has.
So yeah, I guess the taser barbs like penetrate your skin, and because this tases you without penetrating your skin, they think it's better. That's a very small technicality.
Lesser effects than each of those areas.
Begley. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0.
Last June, the Omaha City Council approved OPD purchasing 40 pairs of the gloves. According to city documents, OPD said that it was making the purchase to give SROs, quote, another use of force option with the goal of de-escalating and preventing use of force situations. At OPD's Southwest Precinct, I'm Jeremy Fredericks, your Omaha neighbor.
Yeah, that's wild. It doesn't surprise me, though. Remember there was a while back we saw those, like, cells that they were putting children in the schools? They had them like cells. Children remain one of the most abused and disenfranchised groups in our society. Everybody always says, oh, it's about the children, everything, think of the children, but everybody just like, children are still viewed as you know, expendable, lower class citizens. Yeah, the you were talking about the situation with the soldiers. I think we're like on the verge of a soldier revolt in the US military, which sounds kind of crazy, but not really when you consider the fact that that was very common in the Vietnam War. US soldiers, and back then things were a little bit different because they were conscripted, they were drafted, and now it's a volunteer force. But they were killing their officers, like US soldiers. They were throwing grenades into the tents of their superior officers. It was called fragging. That was the terminology. Yeah, yeah. Mutiny is a very similar kind of thing. But yeah, this is the term, like deliberately killing a fellow soldier, usually your superior. I think fragging is like more individualist. Like, you know, you have a single soldier or maybe one or two that'll throw a grenade in the tent of the superior officer, and a mutiny is more of like, you know, we've all banded together and we're going to throw you off the ship and take control of it. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can like exile somebody in a mutiny, but a fragging is definitely like you're killing them. There's this other thing before I start this video though. I saw this picture of the wing of one of the planes, I think it was. And they had written all this stuff on the dust, like, or I guess they drew on it. Be a good guy and do what Israel tells you to. Operation Epstein Fury. All of these things, U.S. soldiers are writing on the wing of this. I love flock cameras. This is wild. Peace deal number 64 incoming. Yeah, there's no way, like, they've even lost the volunteer military on this. There have been reports of people trying to jump off ship, of them not having food, and where is the other, hold on a minute. There's another picture that Seth Karp posted, yeah. This is, like, on the ship, like, the moldy conditions. I'm pretty sure there were more pictures too, yeah. Yeah, so I guess there's only one shipyard that can repair these aircraft, and they are all old and gross. And people are living in those conditions with no food, being told that they're
I mean, how weak
for
are you on
for the country. Let's see what this guy says. Fox is basically calling the soldiers whiners now, which is an interesting turn of events.
TV complaining about tuna and noodles? I'm sorry. You volunteered to serve your country. You can come back, get out of the military, and do like all of these Democrat veterans and complain about it and make commercials and be a sellout if you want to and come up with a new way of doing things. The last Democrat president that I
So he's saying that anybody who comes back and is unhappy with the experience that they had in war or has something bad to say about it is like, you know, unpatriotic, which who gives a shit? I don't even understand how. Yeah, I mean, unpatriotic. This country sucks.
remember that was deploying troops. Barack Obama had the army going to Iraq on patrol bases for 15 months at a time, eating MREs. I'm sorry, but you're a sitting duck on a patrol base in Iraq, in Afghanistan, a heck of a lot more than you are on a fortified Navy ship sitting in the water. You might have got bored, and I'm sorry. We did have more fun getting in firefights, I'll say that. But to sit there and say that it was terrible because you had a...
If he was stationed in Afghanistan, he was doing a lot more than getting in firefights. He was doing war crimes.
corn dog and a hot dog?
Especially if he had this kind of attitude. You know what I mean?
I would have traded a block of C4 to the Taliban for a hot dog by about July 2010. I just do not understand the mentality. If this is a representation of who our military is now, and I'm not saying it is, but there's at least enough for some of these trash rags to print about it. If this is who we are, we're just Rome sitting here waiting to burn. We've got nothing left. It makes me fume. If he sat there and said, we didn't have any clean water to drink, we couldn't take a shower. I mean, well, I didn't get to take a shower for about 6 months, but still, you know, something that has something to do with hygiene or, you know, like getting sick. There was a scurvy outbreak and, you know, the guys that were missing legs were only given wooden pegs instead of metal ones. Then maybe I might have some sympathy. But
there were reports that they don't have clean water.
That little kid and whoever raised him, Lord help you if you ever go into a hot war on the ground like millions of Americans have. I can only think what a World War II veteran sitting there who's lucid enough today to see that and think about the 6-month journey home from fighting the toughest war we've ever fought after being there for 4 years was thinking, listening to him complain like that. The Secretary of the Navy put out his response. That's my response. End of story.
These military people on Fox are psychotic. What's up, King K? Good to see you. Yeah, our culture is definitely not good, not in a good place. It's discouraging. I used to try to maintain like a certain level of optimism, and that has just gotten increasingly difficult. The death of monoculture is a very interesting topic because I agree that the disillusion of monoculture has had a lot of negative impacts on, I just think like the social atmosphere, that it is more difficult for people to see eye to eye on things. But there were a lot of problems with monoculture too, and especially like around conformity and expectations of conformity. So it is weird. It's one of those things where it's like, what is the answer there? Because I do think it's great that many people can find their niches and stuff, especially outside of the realm of politics. You know what I mean? But it is kind of baffling, like what the right path is. And that is one of the reasons why I've struggled with optimism, because I'm not sure. When I was younger, I was very sure on particular paths. And now I'm like, man, we are so lost as a species and as a culture. Like, where are we going? Um, yeah, that's an interesting point. The overall social atmosphere, people are more connected, but because they're too openly connected, they have removed the warmth and connection and what happened normally. It dissolved it. Interesting. Yeah, I think I to even more a greater extent, I think having everybody in their houses for longer periods of time and having less places where people can gather has really done a lot of damage. And that is somewhat of a specifically American thing. There are some places that have that issue as well, but um it's bad here. I've noticed, like, when I, the past couple jobs I've had, I traveled a lot for work, and I went to other countries, and I saw, like, wow, the social situation is so much different here. People, like, all go and, like, they still have malls, and they still go and hang out at the mall, like, on their lunch break, and then just go back to work and do their thing. Is so interesting. And that I'm thinking in particular of Colombia. But yeah, something going on. Because it's not just the technology um, that's keeping people in their houses. I think it's the lack of places to go. And the other thing is, like, everything costs money in the United States. You can't go anywhere without spending money or without the expectation of. And if you're not spending money, you're getting kicked out of there. So that's definitely a thing too, I think. Trump this morning declared that the Strait of Hormuz is now a U.S. territory. Hasn't he done this like the Wings said, like peace deal number 64? Yeah, it's many people don't have their own thoughts and they don't realize it. And that's the other issue with politics. This is kind of like a random thought, but this whole situation where the Democrats just are like, it's not popular to, abolish ICE. So we're not gonna push for that. But it's like people are being molded by the things that politicians tell them. So even when the Democrats come out and say that's not popular, they're reinforcing the idea that's not popular, and they're making it more unpopular to abolish ICE and things like that. And I do feel like they kind of know it to some extent. Like that's kind of a part of the point. Because even though the Republicans are obviously more fascist, the Democrats have the same donors, and they need to stay within the same guardrails. Trump says no talks are scheduled with Iran. Iran official says Trump's Strait of Hormuz map is delusional. So he basically declared that it was their territory and said, yeah, there's no talks or anything. I just declared it. And yeah, ship attacked in the Strait of Hormuz. They're gonna start attacking ships if you say it's our territory. What a dumbass, man. I really don't understand people who are still riding for Trump. Like, I get people got sucked into the podcast propaganda or whatever. I don't know how they did, and I disagree with it. The whole, there were a lot of red flags, and there were a lot of you know, when somebody's talking about immigrants being terrible and, you know, all of these being on the wrong side of all these culture war issues, I'm just like, nah. But Joe Rogan said he was cool, man. I do think a lot of people have backed away, but there's that core that he's got that just they ain't gonna let it go. I'm not sure what's wrong with them. But yeah, you're right. They are definitely a cult. Yeah, I do think.
And Iran Program Senior Director and Senior Fellow with the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, Benim Bental.
It is. I go back and forth about how much, like how much of an anomaly Trump was. You know what I mean? Like my thinking prior to Trump was always like, you know, is pretty much pre-planned what's happening. The establishment has their pick either way. They usually have, you know, both picks. And I do think that Trump was backed by the establishment. But I think what people don't realize is like the establishment has many different interests and sectors and shit. And they're sometimes competing. So, you know, there's this narrative, oh, Trump was fighting the deep state. And they say the same thing about Nixon. And there is like a factual basis for it because there are elements of the deep state that he is at war with, but that's because they are legitimately trying to investigate his crimes. You know what I mean? It's not because, yeah. And it was the same thing with Nixon. And people just, they're like, oh yeah, he's fighting a system. Like he's fighting a system because they're trying to arrest him. Like that's all it is. Like, come on now. And then that raises the question, were they really trying to arrest him? Because they didn't do a very good job. They had 4 years to do it. They had all the evidence in the world from 20 different angles, but they didn't do it. And then they just let him get in again. So it does raise a lot of questions, and well, we have every reason to be cynical, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's very odd. And the other thing is, as much as, you know, the other side talks like, oh, it's bad what he's doing in Iran. But actually they're really bad and they really shouldn't have nukes. And actually it's not too bad what he's doing there. You know, somebody needed to do it, I guess. And, you know, and then with the with a lot of the stuff he's been doing, whether it is ICE, because, you know, the Democrats don't like how loud he is about it, but they also like deporting people. They also come out and say, no, open borders is terrible and defund the police is terrible. It's the same bullshit. I missed a couple of flock stories, but I don't think they were super important. Does anybody know about this like blackout in Gary, Indiana? I want to look up the Flock story where Ben Jordan dude followed the Flock buildings, filmed them, and they didn't like being surveilled. Yeah, I think I might have shared that one last week. She put the horror music in there. What is going on in Indiana? Let me see. It really is starting to feel apocalyptic out there. I read this one article that I'll pull up later. Oh, I guess it was a storm that they just haven't repaired from. There is this one article I saw where in Western Maryland, in this rural area, people are being charged for their water bills $400, $700, or even $1,000 for their water bill. And so some people are like, you know, skipping showers and stuff like that. It's insane. We are things seem kind of normal now, you know, but I worry that we're entering like some twisted territory. This is $1,000 water bills. Yeah, what's the deal with Ford's documentary? It looked really interesting, and then I saw this conversation about it, like where he was like, I'm friends with Ford. I should ask him about it. I haven't talked to him in like actually a lot longer than that. But was he trying to say that like the FBI set up January 6th or something? Was he going with that narrative? That was what I was kind of confused about. Because I feel like, you know, a lot of them people were like legitimately trying to forcefully take over the government that day. I read his whole thing to Kash Patel, and I was kind of confused about what he was trying to, what his point or agenda was there. And yeah, I was wondering if data centers had something to do with that high water bill. Did you watch I should watch the documentary. I just saw this like this thing that he posted. And I know he's not a Trump guy. But it says, tomorrow I will publish a detailed play-by-play account of registered FBI confidential human sources January 6 activities in their own words. I will also disclose the name of and documents pertaining to a secret surveillance program that was used to target suspected January 6 participants and others similarly situated to them with undercover operations. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I guess that's what it is. There was some truth that the FBI did bait them into it. A lot of weird stuff went on, like limited police protection over the area until they were in. Yeah, that makes me feel like the FBI was like. So now this is a theory, but is this realistic? Maybe the FBI was actually trying to help them and actually wanted them to succeed. But then when they failed, it was like, oh, we were doing a sting operation or something like that. Maybe that's too conspiratorial on my part. Because I do know that the FBI does to some extent keep an eye on these white supremacist groups after the Oklahoma City bombing, but it's still, they still largely get a pass with the arsenals that they're able to amass and stuff like that. Like you would not, as an Antifa militia, be able to do that. I don't think, anyway. That's my assumption. So he says the informant in my documentary took several steps in person and online to propagate what he called a farce. As the documentary and my evidence will show, this informant, who had registered with the FBI handlers in the Joint Terrorism Task Force as the CHS prior to the Capitol incident, falsely stated publicly as the situation was ongoing that we currently have 4 firearms inside the Capitol. So, and he would later give varying explanations to the media as to whether Capitol had referred to Washington, D.C. or Richmond, Virginia, as opposed to the United States Capitol. And there's also the thing that, like, even if some of these Boogaloo people were confidential informants, what about like Stuart Rhodes and the Oath Keepers and Enrico Torres and the Proud Boys? You know what I mean? Like, I know they work with the feds, but I do also think that they were legitimately trying to take the government by force. And I think that that was pretty clear from their chats and stuff, from their private chats. The other thing, though, is that Ford was there as a journalist. Like, he was there videotaping all these people. And his footage has gotten a lot of white supremacists arrested for assaulting people at protests and shit like that. So I definitely trust his coverage and his kind of like impartiality. I was just very interested in the angle that he was presenting here in this open letter to Kash Patel. Because it wasn't clear to me it wasn't clear to me what his agenda was or where he stood on this. Which probably because he's trying to like keep that. Let's see. Yeah, I definitely should watch that though. He definitely does good work. But I was thrown off by this statement. Somebody got Randy Fine on their Ring camera looking through their mail while he was canvassing. Randy Fine is one of Bibi Netanyahu's strongest soldiers in Congress. And look at him knocking on somebody's door and then like rummaging through their mail. Watch. Like, what? What kind of creep does that shit, man? Like, let's just look through some random people's mail. And then this, and everybody's got a Ring camera, dumbass. Rep Jack Kimball, who's this fake, like, congressperson. He just pretends to be a congressperson on Twitter. He says, I can explain this. Sometimes when you're out canvassing and you come to a mailbox where nobody is home, sometimes you find good stuff in their mailbox. This guy's always saying wild shit, though. Is Randy Fine up for re-election? Yeah, he's running against fucking Dan Bilzerian. And apparently he's winning considerably, Randy Fine is. Yeah. And you know, Dan Bilzerian really is like it like the feds could not set this up any better, because Randy Fine, who calls everybody anti-Semitic for, opposing Israel in any fashion, is running against a guy who is like literally anti-Semitic. And it's like, and I think he's also like a billionaire. He said he did what? He made a video saying he was disgusted that a porta potty was a gender neutral bathroom. Randy Fine actually did that. Oh my God. But yeah, and also like he threw a woman off of a roof or something and hurt her. I think it wasn't an abusive like relationship or something, but it was like, some party was happening and he was trying to throw her into a pool, which like, dude, you shouldn't be doing that. And he like, I guess missed the pool. And then he also like kicked some woman in the face in a bar fight. Yeah, that's definitely a thing. See, look. In August 2014, Bilzerian was banned from a Miami nightclub for kicking model Vanessa Castano in the face during a brawl. He said that Castano and another woman attacked his companion. There were two girls standing next to me at the table that were fighting. People started getting shoved and I tried to separate them. So he did like a roundhouse kick in the face. Like, what? Then Dan pushed me off the banquet twice and I fell. He kicked me in the face. And then he threw an adult actress. I think this is the one where he threw her off a house. Yeah. What? On December 19th, 2014, Bilzerian was arrested at Los Angeles International Airport on unrelated bomb-making charges. Some billionaire getting arrested for making an explosive device. Yeah, so Randy Fine sucks. He's a terrible human being. This guy sucks too. And no, I'm not Mossad for saying the guy sucks. It's just like, come on now. But Randy Fine, his odds of winning are like all the polls have him very, very far ahead. Unfortunately so. I mean, but Dan Bilzerian would not be good in power either. We need a dark horse in that race. Exactly. Classic U.S. political choice. You're not allowed to talk about the Gaza genocide.
It's going to be in 25, where I think the statistic is 1 in 4 voters in D25 is Jewish. You have said you want to essentially defund Israel. Israel, one of many countries that the U.S.
Defund has become like this reactionary that like, I don't know. It's so funny. Like And I think he wants the person that she's talking to actually wants to cut off funding entirely, not defund. People, defund is less funding, not no funding. But they use it to imply that there's no funding, which means that the conversation to reduce funding gets removed from the table.
U.S. contributes to. How are you going to explain to your Jewish voters that you would like to essentially put Israel in an existential threat?
I look at this as making sure that we actually practice democracy abroad as well as at home. And when the nation state law in Israel was passed in, I believe, 2018, that created a much more tiered system of citizenship that privileges Jewish citizens above Palestinians. I don't believe it is in the United States' interest to support that. And we've also got our own laws on the books, the Leahy laws, that prohibit the military funding from the Department of Defense and Department of State from providing.
Let me just stop you for 1 second. That actually is factually incorrect. There was not a Palestinian state in 18. What I want to talk about is the here and now of the state of Israel exists in 1948, which actually was supposed to be a two-state solution and then rejected by the Arab states. But here and now,
She's throwing out all the propaganda. Damn, dude.
a large chunk of the funding that goes to Israel is defensive funding for Iron Dome, or rather defensive. And then military funding greatly increased after the October 7th massacre. So I guess my question to you is, taking away Israel's money, which actually is a much more complicated equation because Israeli tech and the economic benefits that come back to the U.S. for job creation is all part and parcel of that, which not a lot of people talk about. But taking away a defensive mechanism for a state which has an
Doing a genocide, like, yo, I'm sorry, you don't get to protect yourself when you're doing a genocide. You need to stop.
existential threat all around it, stated by the terrorists who want to annihilate it. You're essentially
The language is so loaded here. It's insane.
taking away defense. And I think that's a very important thing for viewers in your district, because
He hasn't even been able to say anything.
that's what they want to hear you talk about. Why?
Israel is committing a genocide in
That's
Gaza.
incorrect. That is factually incorrect.
It has
That's
been regarded
propaganda.
by the United Nations and Amnesty International and even Israeli human rights organizations, including B'Tselem. There's
The
a number
definition
of
of genocide in the UN has said this, does not apply to what many people might think as a disproportionate wartime action. That's what that is in many people's minds. Genocide is a very specific thing, actually genocide being committed against Jewish people, not by Israel. And that's just a fact.
I mean, the United Nations recently in Geneva found that the IDF had deliberately targeted women and children. There's been famine conditions imposed over the Gaza Strip by the blockading of aid entering the Strip. There's been indiscriminate bombing of hospitals, of mosques, of churches.
Again, I'm going to have to stop you, as that is factually not correct. But I hear you talking about something very important to a lot of people, and certainly who think that way. But as a congressman, and I'm being told we have to wrap. But as a congressman for District 25, I'm hoping your viewers will be able to hear you flesh that out a little more, as well as the Medicare for All and universal education. And we'll see you on the other side of Tuesday. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks so much for having me, Glenn. Israel is committing a
Like, it's obvious at this point. Yeah, exactly. Ridiculous. I think that was the last one I had. Yeah, I think that was it. I'm gonna try to post some more videos though. Oh wait, I got a good one to end. Here's Fox News freaking out about Nancy Mace's tattoos. Which, if you haven't seen them yet, why am I logged out on my Blue Sky? That's been all the conversation, because she went out and got a bunch of tattoos at once, and it's like she pointed at the flash art book on the first page and was like, you know, give me everything on the first page. And somebody said it says just ice. But let's see Fox News losing their mind about it. because I think it's funny, because this is like the least worst thing that she has done in her life. This is like the only thing that I don't have a problem with. Like, the tattoos are a little bit basic, and getting them all at the same time, it's like something's going on. You know what I mean? Like, are you okay? But seeing these people melt down is so funny.
I mean, she does have the Virgin Mary on the arm there. I wish she would pray to the Virgin rather than placing a tattoo of her on her bicep.
She's been through a lot, I think. She's been through a lot. She's working through it.
She's working through it.
Rather see her working through that than Justin Trudeau in the closet with a plunger. Okay, I'll take that. And
where did that come from? I did not know about that.
I still can't get over.
on the other hand,
Raymond, I don't like tattoos. I'm not a tattoo person, but I don't want. It's their personal choice. They want to do tattoos. Do any of your kids have tattoos, Raymond? Any of them? No way.
No, they do not. Not that I know of.
No, but it's a big thing. People like them.
I mean,
that's funny shit. Obviously, Nancy Mace is terrible, but you know, it's just funny. People are still melting down about that shit in this year. But yeah, it was good to be back with y'all. I finished, like I said, I finished the screenplay that I'm working on, or at least what I'm going to do of it. I have like a little bit of editing to do to the last 2 episodes and to figure out a couple songs, but it's pretty much done. It's done enough for me to start sending it around. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to figure that out and see what becomes of it. And I guess my next project will be trying to figure out which direction I want to take this channel and be more specific about, you know, kind of the issues I choose instead of just popping up here and scrolling through. But I'm going to do that until I figure out what else is going on. But yeah, it was great to talk to you all again. I appreciate you sticking around, and I will catch you next time. Peace. Don't forget to check out my other videos. And if you have the ability and want to contribute, take a look at my Patreon, where you can get a subscription